The financial forecast for WA is better than first thought.
Even though COVID-19 has caused the biggest global economic shock in nearly 100 years, Western Australia's economic and financial position is better than we first forecast.
The 2020-21 budget has predicted a $1.2 billion operating surplus for the next financial year, cash which will be used to help create jobs in a post-COVID world. A record $27 billion will be spent on infrastructure over the next 4 years, road and rail making up 43% of the total spend, and that doesn't include the $1.1 billion promised by the Commonwealth.
So we've got close to $28 billion of infrastructure investment, and that's going to help a lot of builders, they're going to help a lot of subcontractors and a lot of apprentices.
But it's not all good news. The Treasurer admits this budget is largely focused on job creation rather than paying down debt, which will only rise over the forward estimates, peaking at $42.9 billion in 2023. Budget forecasts are based on the assumption border restrictions won't ease until April next year. But the Treasurer is assuring West Australians that doesn't mean restrictions won't be lifted before that time.
The government policy is still very much focused around the health advice. The Treasury had to make a call and by chance really sort of ended up replicating the Commonwealth's position on that.
We do recognise that many businesses are benefiting from the current arrangements, but we've got to have all the facts on the table when we make our decisions in this space, and the facts are around a third of WA businesses impacted by those restrictions, whether it's difficulties managing their workforces, whether it's not being able to access tourists.
A second wave of COVID-19 is being pitched as the biggest risk to the state's finances. Analysis shows a 6-week lockdown could wipe $5.6 billion from the WA economy, erasing 30,000 jobs.
The biggest threat to Western Australia is a second wave of coronavirus. Western Australia's island within an island strategy has worked, but we are surrounded by a world of uncertainty.
One of the key assumptions of the second wave is that the mining sector is untouched, as it has been broadly to date. But that is a huge risk. The huge risk is a second wave because it would slow down the capacity.
The mining industry has been a lifesaver for the WA economy, particularly iron ore exports, and that's expected to continue. Despite forward estimates assuming the price of iron ore will decline, the state government could still receive $7.4 billion in royalties next financial year.
There's $129 billion of new projects potentially coming forward. What we'd like to see the government continue to focus on is efforts to streamline and reduce red tape.
More than $1 billion in relief has also been earmarked to ease pressure on West Australians, including a one-off $600 energy bill credit for every household. A freeze on government fees and charges is also being extended as part of the state's $5.5 billion COVID recovery plan. This is an important budget for the McGowan government. It's the last before West Australians are sent to the polls on March 13 for the state election. Labor is expected to use this budget to pitch itself to voters as good economic managers who've brought WA back into the black. Emily Evans, Sky News, Perth.